opens it. And that's what you want as an artist, to be able to open up that area that's been closed by society.
It's a constant struggle going on. We talk about democracy, and it's a beautiful concept, but it's not a destination. I see it as a journey, and the best way to reach there, it's self-analysis. It's really looking at it and re-evaluating what we believe in, our morals, our values, things that we've accepted. We have to question those. We have to challenge those. We have to confront those things, So that's what I mean by the struggle. It is a constant struggle, to make life better for everybody. Martin Luther King and all these other fighters drew a lot from what happened in Africa. So there's always been this, transcontinental, inspiration going on. There is this nostalgic feeling of, belonging here and belonging there. There is this pull from the continent, from my nation, from my people. I could hear my grandma. My grandmother is passed. She passed like 15 years ago. But I still can see myself as a baby in her arms, rocking me to sleep, and she's singing, like this, one of my favorite lullabies. Dede vignello tobolo, dede vignello tobolo, dede vignello tobolo, dede vignello tobo, imba favile zamenamo, imba favile zamenamo, nu de la hobila, si onamulo, dede vignello tobolo.
What we are still taught in schools as art history is dominated by Western European perspectives of beauty and perspectives of what art and culture is. And certainly it's broadening, but it's still, it's a fight that's still going on many different levels.
From a white perspective, an all-white scene is normalcy. And it's abnormal for a person of color, be they African American, Asian, Latino, be they of Arab descent. They see something wrong when someone of color gets in. I mean, like, suddenly it's like, there's a saying in Japan about a nail sticking out and you have to hammer it back in. That is, if someone as a personality stands out, the community will hammer you back in. But basically, you're a nail sticking out from their point of view.
In my education, I had always been exposed to European art, and there was very little African American art at that time. And when I came to New York, it was at the beginning of the civil rights movement, and I felt I had a lot to say, and I wanted to use black images, and I just wanted to be involved with black artists, black educators, and so that's what I did.
One day I'm in the gallery, and I'm in the back, and I noticed that, because I was doing both black and white people. That's what I always wanted to do. I just wanted to do people. And I noticed all of the images of black people, anything black was hanging on the wall. There was nothing of mine on black. It was all out in the, that work was in group shows and things. So I go to the dealer, and I said, look, you're not showing the black people I do. And she said, they don't sell. She said, they don't sell. That's what. Then there were some other artists in the gallery, very well-known artists, Raphael Sawyer, Chaim Gross, and people like that. I said, well, you show their work. You show when they came over from Europe. I said, you show all their work. You show them on the Lower East Side. You show their whole story. And this is my story. This is where I come from. And she said, well, I just don't think it sells. And I realized then I had to go out and fight.
of these guys had galleries in New York. And I could see, you know, that the anger was there, a little bitterness about not being recognized.
The field of American art, such that it was, both institutionally and in academia, was much more narrowly defined. And within that, I would say, black artists were probably, or African American artists were the ones who were most severely marginalized or absent from the study.
Hear that cello? That shit's dope.
We started demanding that the fine art world write about us, and talk about us. And of course, the fine art world kind of backed into this, and what they wanted to do was have all black shows, put everybody together, forget about the theme, forget about your technique, forget about what you did, abstract realism or concept, you know, whatever. It's just black show.
You know, it's the white establishment, and they were not really addressing the black artist at that time. And Benny said, hey, come on, you know, you got to get this together. And we came from all over New York, from all over the country, and became involved in this united effort to have our work seen and shown.
We set up protests against the Met. And at first, the funny thing is that we couldn't get any publicity. We out front, police horses and everything, and the people at the Met with their noses to the window, never seen anything like this. It was like protesting St. Patrick's and things. And we couldn't get anybody to notice us. And people driving along on buses, seeing this group of, well, about 95% black people. And Raphael Sawyer, Alice Neal, John Dobbs, Mel Roman, white artists with us, and out marching. It got to be so public that the New York Times finally started writing about it. And then when they were forced to have shows about us, they always had them near the kitchen. That was always ironic that they would. It was the last stages of this kind of thing. And finally, it got to the point where it just had to be acknowledged that there were different artists, different concepts and things, which was a big leap.
See, that's what, even in my generation, white cats now don't even understand the struggle back then.
Up realtors, you know, they signs vacancies in their buildings and stuff, and call realtors.
There was a serious struggle back then.
Gallery. What kind of gallery are you going to open?
These people got gray hair. They're in their 70s.
And the response would be, we don't show black velvet in our buildings, and hang up. I mean, it was like click. We don't allow black velvet paintings in our building. Click, click. I actually never did the research to find out whether or not black artists painted on black velvet. I don't know, right? There were those images. They were certainly made for black folks to buy on 42nd Street. But did black artists actually create black velvet? I don't know any black artists that created a black velvet painting. But that was the rap in the art world. Black artists make black velvet paintings, or they just don't make art. Oh my dear. Blacks don't make art.
Early on, you know, it was very difficult.
See, that was the mindset back then.
Art, because there were so many other problems.
And we only talking
other needs, and those needs were an education,
50s, 60s, 70s.
A home, okay, doing so many other things. So art was like
40s.
icing on the cake. You know, I mean, someone, you told your mother or father that you were
70
going into
years?
the art scene, you know, become an artist. I mean, my God, I never forget. Normie told me his mother cried for days. You know, I mean, how are you going to survive?
The art critics would have nothing to do with this.
Look at this guy. He's only, what, 68, 71, maybe the most?
Propaganda, didactic, and they kept themselves above that.
One of the things that was said a lot about, you know, why it's difficult to bring black artists into our galleries is the whole social thing. You know, you have to be able to eat with the collector. You know, you have to be able to hold a conversation in these social settings, you know. It's like, what, people can't talk? What are you trying to say here? You know, like, what's your point here? But that became like the real, that became like in their minds, a real obstacle to being able to show black artists was that black artists wouldn't make it out, you know, wouldn't make out too well at a dinner party. And a lot of our business is done over food and alcohol. And we don't know what you niggas gonna say.
Our images were incredibly negative. You have to realize also that front page, black man kills another person. Normally, black man kills another white person, then all of a sudden it was splattered everywhere, and that's what we saw as in terms of images. You couldn't hold a white woman's hand or smack anybody on television unless you got hung. And you know, we got tired of those films where you go in the film, okay, when is the brother gonna die? It's all a matter of watching when the brother's gonna die. And you know, because you knew he was gonna die if he's in the film, it's just a matter of time. If he ain't dying, he's gonna be weeping. It's gonna be one of them.
Hollywood said, damn, there is a market out here. Black folks will go to the movies to see black folks be badass. And so they started making badass films.
You know, all of a sudden, you know, you had people that say, oh, right on, take his head off. You had something to cheer for. Then they took it to another level. They took it to another level because all of a sudden that's all they turned out. Westerns weren't kicking. Army films weren't kicking because of Vietnam. And, you know, and all that stuff was going on during that period. And then here comes some black film, here's income. Let's go in there and make some income. And that's what it really came down to.
Of course, it always comes down to money.
The majority of 1970s early blaxploitation posters would feature either a car, a bunch of women with guns or pimps or drugs, something relating to the ghetto, the crime, the streets, the things that were illegal.
They were making these movies for a black audience, right? And so they said, okay, how do we sell this to a black audience? And I think that what they did was they looked at the images of, you know, the quote-unquote militant images of strength that were coming out of the more radical fringes of the civil rights movement, and saying, okay, I can use this to sell these gangsters on the street. I can use this imagery to sell the stories that we're telling. You take the cultural traditions of the people, right? Present them as your own, and then sell them for profit.
People judge everything by the message that they receive immediately. Whether it's good or bad, whether it's black or white, whether it's right or wrong. Primarily, most of the artwork was created by the studios. One studio in particular, AIP, probably had half a dozen artists creating the blaxploitation posters. All of them look kind of similar, so you know that the same artist was involved, or same group of artists, until 1975, 76, over. Because everybody got tired of the stereotypical pimps and you know, guns. Advertising in America is very, well, some people can say it's very clever, and indeed some of it is. But when it comes to movie posters, the majority is not very clever at all. But when it comes to foreign posters and the artwork that goes along with it, you really start to sense that it's not just advertising, that it's also art. They went to greater extent to find a good artist that would truly provoke the viewer in seeing this poster to want to come in through the artwork rather than through the commercial approach of a typical American advertising piece.
have to take blame at the same time for a lot of things that happen because we subscribe to a lot of commercialism. And as a result of that subscription, a lot of people cater to it. Their work start to reflect that. Once the word is out that this vein or this genre of art is selling, then you have copycats and imitators.
The only way to do that artistically, our responsibility as artists is to just do the work. I say that, just work. That's our main responsibility to help change that. There was a show where my work was exhibited, and one portrait in particular fascinated this gentleman, a Caucasian gentleman. He came over to me. He says, "Can you do white people? Can you paint white people?" I was like, sure, but it just shocked me that someone would think that. I mean, because painting is just about color, whatever color you are. Get the paints, mix them together, and there you get your person. I did this card series, and people were fascinated by it. And the comment was made that, it's wonderful, beautiful, but why would I want that in my home?
I had an art dealer I worked with. He called me, wanted to interview me, and my name isn't, I guess, maybe the most black name you can find. It wasn't like it was like Leroy Jackson's slide portfolio or something.
White cards.
Read into that, so I went up to the gallery.
Why would any black person want a white card?
I was black.
Because it's cards.
To be honest with you, I didn't know you were black.
And you play them.
I guess people have their expectations.
It don't matter who's on
black
it.
Art is.
But we're talking about mentality.
It's almost like we rent our culture from the masses because it's been put out for so long that black art looks like this. So we have subscribed to that notion that if it doesn't look like this, then it's not black art. So, and that happens, I think, across the board, artistically, fashion-wise, what we do socially, what we do politically. We're all supposed to like the same things. We're all supposed to do the same thing. Well, he's black. Aren't you going to vote for him,
If I do a painting of oranges and someone sees it, it's not black art to them, even though to me it is. So my question is, if a white person paints a black person, is that black art? I thought black art was anything created by a black person. If I do an abstract painting, that's not black art, that's abstract painting. But if I draw a brother painting an abstract painting, then it's black art. So it's kind of a funny thing.
generally when I say I'm a painter, they go, oh, like, that's nice, you know. And the expectation is that they're gonna see the man holding the baby, you know, or someone wrapped in, kente cloth or something to that effect. And they're really surprised when they see the work that I do.
Picasso, took black sculpture from Africa and, embodied that in his work. And, the list can go on and on about how, other artists have used our culture and in some ways exploited it and, put it into their art and appropriated it. And their art has transitioned beyond what was the status quo at that time in that generation. So I think we need to do the same.
Most definitely. I mean, if somebody transcends the status quo, like you said, and becomes better because he stole something, then either you don't do it at all or you keep doing it across the board.
I know that a lot of black men have a lot on their plate. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues right now, as far as how we represent the workforce and how we represent ourselves. I mean, a lot of people watch MTV. I mean, how do you see black men represented in TV? You can do more, I should say.
We have issues of struggles, issues of, bad politics, issues of, segregation or separatism, and issues of those who profit from them.
Most
the
definitely.
Politics will always be the politics. The issues will always be the issues. And what do you do about it? And that's the question. What do you do about it?
Well, you definitely don't put a Trump in office to make things better.
The mainstream art world is not necessarily the most open place for
anybody.
For artists of color and women artists and artists who do different types of things.
When you look at the works of African American artists and you look at the quality of the work, I mean, their work is undervalued. I mean, that's probably why I can afford to buy as much as I can. I think if they were comparable, if the same quality was comparable to some of the other mainstream artists, I probably couldn't afford to buy it. So
right.
In that respect is a plus. But I also think that these artists need to get equal prices for the quality of work they're doing.
Most definitely. And equal is the key thing.
We need to validate ourselves. So one of the things that I think art can do for the community is bring the whole level of communication, bring the whole level of process at a point where it can start to solve some of the problems or solve some of the mysteries that have managed to elude us for so many years in terms of establishing our own access, opposed to waiting for access.
Black people have not been welcomed in the museums and stuff like that. So there isn't that tradition.
We have to support it for it to continue. And that is a key point. We have to support it. No one else can. We have to do it for ourselves.
Most
definitely.
definitely.
We have to see how important our artists are.
And that's what everybody's all pissed off about, because now you see everybody rising.
And it still is a major problem. There is no
why all of a sudden
person doing art
are these people in the streets rising?
Major newspapers. None. There's never been one. And
because they're standing out for themselves.
So the problem is everything still has to pass
and
through
you still got
the
a problem.
white critics. The white critics, no matter how good they are, no matter how impartial they are, they determine whether this is good art, bad art. And that's like plantation thing. That's almost like getting a note from your master to say whether you're good or bad.
There's just too many people saying the same thing, and it coming from the
The
heart and
idea,
soul.
first of all, for me, of splitting, I'm saying there's black art or white art. I think there's only art. There's European art, there's African art, there's all these different types of art. But I think that to define art as being black or white is, well, I don't know, sort of nebulous.
My work speaks to a very broad audience, especially one who is intellectually stimulated or looking for intellectual stimulation. Because it's not necessarily about race, it's not necessarily about ethnicity, it's about people.
Probably what happens to a lot of people, you're creating work with that thought in your head. Is this work representational of my blackness? And that's kind of an unfair position to put any artist in. You should be able to just create work.
See, when I think of Van Gogh, I'm not thinking of Whitey. I mean, I like Van Gogh. It rises above any difference in that sense. But that also means we're all equal.
We always said what we would like to have is a level playing field. We would like to put our work to be looked at for what it is. If it's not acceptable, okay, but disqualified or don't select it because it's not acceptable. Don't just do a broad brush thing and sweep us out.
Everyone else gets a chance to see themselves as that ideal. And I don't know why we shouldn't. And I think that there is beauty in all the things that we have been through, and there's going to be beauty in all the other steps that we make and all the other things that we conquer. But there is also just beauty in the fact that we are beautiful, and I think that too has its place.
I just want the world to know about us, who we are, and just that we're so wonderful. and I try to do it through my painting.
An artist's style will change constantly. I mean, if you look at Picasso as an example, Picasso changed his art as much as he probably changed his wives, but but the bottom line is, you have to change because it's internal. And when you start having this, what is black art and what black art is, and you as an artist, you have to try to explain humanity in any way that you possibly can. And then, and you start saying, you limit yourself. Like when they talk about ball players, let's say, because that's what everybody can kind of understand. When they talk about Michael Jordan, they don't say he's the best black ball player. They said he was the best ball player.
You're Michael Jordan, you're Michael Jordan. The rules are there. We all know the rules. No one can take that away from anybody. So that really fascinates me. And I wonder, like, oh wow, if other aspects of life could be like that, then we'll have reached, like the paradise of democracy.
Art throughout history, in terms of the African American experience, has been served as one of the best ways to document that experience and to really document it truthfully.
If you really
all these
think about
people
it, in terms of from a historian's
live in the
that's
city.
all that's left when generations die off. They look at art, and that's how they measure that civilization's success.
You can be a superhero if you want to. You can really help save those who need a voice. And if that's how you're going to do it, it's through your hands by painting, then it's a great thing.
Everybody, not just black folk. Like, we all have our problems. We've got family problems and some, money problems and work stress, you know? And everybody needs that release. Everybody is always addressing their anger, everybody's addressing their rage, and everybody's always addressing their pain. But I got to a point when I was in school where I was like, what if I can do compelling images about the fact that I feel good? Let me take that challenge. Let me take that challenge, because that's not so easy to make an image that's pretty, and to make an image that's comforting, and make an image that makes people feel good.
I think it's changed slowly, but not a lot. It's very, very difficult to get into a gallery unless it's specifically looking for Afrocentric art. Afrocentric art even has a better chance than Afro-American artist who is painting in a classical style, abstract style, or any other style, because that's what they're used to, that's what they're looking for, and that's what they expect.
Things haven't changed that much. Black people are still on the bottom of the ladder here in this country. Last hired, first fired, that still goes. All you have to do is read the newspapers and see.
Black folks were mostly guards and maintenance people and cafeteria help. There's a little bit of shift in that, but they're mostly the guards and the maintenance and the cafeteria help today, 30 years later.
Further along collectively in society. Part of the reason is we fall victim to distractions. You see a handful of people in the media being successful or portrayed as successful, and then we think everything is fine. But meanwhile, the collective or the masses are suffering, are struggling to get by, are grinding, so to say. It's a day-to-day existence for a lot of people.
We live in an era now where we don't think anymore. Things are given to us. Great, I paint pretty pictures, but then what does that mean in the end? The pictures just can't be pretty and have no real meaning.
There's so much more to fight about now than even when it was in the 60s and the 70s. It's not just artists. We all have a responsibility to look at the situation we find ourselves here in America and in the world and try to find ways to improve that situation.
Systematically, black people have been kept out. And I think the doors are going to swing open. I think once they swing open, it's going to be huge. And people are going to realize, because I think art has been dead since the 1950s here. That's just my opinion. I mean, but I think that black art has always progressed. It got more energy, it got more bounce, and if you don't mind me saying, it has more rhythm.
There is a struggle. I don't know where it's going, but I think that the struggle begins with the artist, not to be swayed by what is marketable and what is fashionable. Because some artists go like, oh, you know, if I do this kind of art, I'm not going to get into the museums, I'm not going to get into these galleries. So they kind of just toe the line.
All of us benefit from whatever happened before us. Everything. I mean, we don't start anything. You know, we're using what others have done. And in our areas, we can make contributions that will give to others. I've tried to thank some people who helped me so much, and more times than not, they say, you can't do anything for me. Pass it on. And so when I get a chance to do something, someone needs something, then I do that. And if they try to think it,
that's what this whole thing is all about, is helping others
out. That's
out.
what all of us should think about.
But you put the greediest person up there, and then because Obamacare, you don't want to help out the next man. That's the whole thing behind Obamacare. Do your share in helping out the next man. Ain't nothing wrong with helping somebody out. You should be ashamed that you're out there fighting in the streets because you don't want to throw out an extra $80 or something like that to help somebody get
my youngest is 15.
Hospital care.
And so one day he was sitting in our living room, and in the living room,
it's a damn shame.
Over my fireplace, I have a Richard Yard, I have a couple of Bearden collages, I have a Jake Lawrence, I have some Mel Edwards hanging on the wall.
Everybody needs help.
I looked around the room and he said,
you all got help, one way or another.
Pieces of work are about black people. I said, yeah, they are.
A lot of you in comfortable jobs you've had for 25 years because your relatives got you in there.
We have our stories. We have our beauty to contribute to this country.
You're able to feed your kids off of that help somebody gave you.
It's just human beings, you know. We have these 2 legs, 2 arms, heads, 2 eyes, we live a certain period of time, we get hungry and all that kind of stuff. But we're also more than that. And I hope that sometimes they'll see a sparkle of something that make them feel sorry or make them laugh or something. That's what I hope. I hope that it goes beyond being a picture.
No human being is any better than any other human being. No race is any better than any other race. We're all down here doing the best we can. And everybody's got blood in their veins as far as I know. Equality, being equal and fair in the world. And it's a shame we had to fight for it because we are equal. You know, given that by the Creator.
A lot of people went to sleep. It's sort of disappointing to hear about people thinking the fight is over.
Yeah.
because it's not. The fight continues.
Damn right. Goddamn right.
That was good, no?